So for today's Cultivate, we're going to talk about adding and editing pages on your site. You have the power to add as many pages as you want on your site. You can edit pretty much anything on the site yourself if you want to. Of course, as you all know, we already have a resource for you in our knowledge base. So that's going to give you some walkthroughs, tutorials, things like that. And you can always reach out to our support staff and we can help walk you through creating a page, or if you have some specific design needs that you're trying to fulfill, you can reach out to the support staff and get that. So I'm going to start from my dashboard here, and I'm going to click on Pages up at the top left corner. And that's going to bring me to a list of all the pages on my site. The first thing I want to show you is how to edit a page that already exists. And so for that, I'm just going to click on the About page down here. I'm going to click on the name itself, and that's going to bring up the edit screen for my About page. So as you can see here, we don't have a ton of content. We just have a single content block. It says page title here, but don't worry. On the live version of this page, it's going to be the actual page title. It's not going to say the words page title. Since this page is called About, it would say About on the live website. So let's say I want to edit this content block here on my About page. When you notice I hover over it, it kind of makes an outline with a dotted red line there. If you click Edit in the top right corner of that, it's going to bring up the edit screen for this content. We've got an image in here that we could swap out or delete if we wanted to. To do so, you just click on the image itself, and you'll click up here in this Tools area and click Insert Image. And that's going to bring up the image. And if you click Change up here at the top, you can add an image from your computer, or you can add something that's already on your site. For instance, if you go over here to Headline Images on the right-hand side here, that's going to bring up a library of over 700 images that we pulled from Kubota Brand Builder and Kubota USA that you can use throughout your website. So let's say I want to add this zero turn. I can click that here, click Done. And now it's going to add this photo of a zero turn. You can set your alignment here, and then you can also set the size. So you'll notice the image thumbnail is set to the original size, which is 1100 pixels wide, and that's pretty big. So if you want something smaller, if you click this drop down, there's a few presets in here. Like you can set it to medium, for instance. Or if you kind of have your own size in mind, you can scroll down to custom size, and you can set the maximum width here. Something to say like 500. So it won't be as big within that content block. So I've done that. My max height will set to 500 as well. Click Done, and then we'll click Insert this image. And it's now added this into my content area here. You can also change the text. Text changes are super easy. You can just click and type out what you want to say, or you can copy and paste something. There's a few text tools up here at the top, and I kind of wanted to go over what each one of them does. And if you've ever used Microsoft Word, then you're probably pretty familiar with these. But just to make sure, we've got this first, the B, which is bold, the I, which is italicize, U for underline, and then you can align your text either left, center, right, or justified. You can create bullet lists or numbered lists here. You can change the indent, which you can also do usually with the tab button. There's a place to add a hyperlink, so if you want to link a bit of your text to go to another page on your site or to another page altogether, you can insert a hyperlink and add a web address to that text. As we mentioned before, there's a place to insert images, and I have just one here, but you can insert as many images as you would like. The paperclip you see here is for inserting a file. So if you have a PDF that you want to add to a content block, you can do so right here. There's a place to add a video. I like adding YouTube links because I keep up with the YouTube channel, and that way I can kind of link back and forth between my YouTube channel and my website and give those both hits. But if you just have a video that doesn't really need to be on YouTube, you can upload it here as well, and it uploads right to your site. Please note that videos are larger files than images. pretty much always. And so it's going to take a little bit longer to insert a video on your site than it would an image. So that might be something that you set up and you upload it to the site, and you might have to come back a little bit later because it might take a few minutes depending on how big your image file is. You've got a spot here to add tables. So if you wanted to create like a grid system, some people use this to create coupons that you can print out, and by creating a table you can, I'll just create one here. Let's add a table. We'll just do a 1 by 1. As you can see here, you can go out to near infinity on how many columns and rows you have. But I'm just going to create a 1 by 1. I'm going to call it coupon. And then when I right-click on it, whoops, excuse me. Never mind, you don't have to right-click. It will automatically bring up your table editing items up here at the top. And so you can add you can add more columns and rows. You can delete columns and rows. You can even change up some of the formatting on this table if you want, and give it a nice gives it a nice dotted line look, so it makes it really easy to add coupons that way. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one for now. Oh, too much. The paintbrush with the line through that you see here is for clean formatting. The only time that I really use this is when I copy and paste text from another website, or maybe from an email document or a PDF. Sometimes it adds weird styling to your text. So if you just select your text and you click this clean formatting button, it will automatically make all of this regular paragraph text, and it's going to match your website and the look of your website. So that's what that's for. You've got a strike through right here with the ABC. So if you wanted to stylistically strike through something, you could do that just by clicking. You can add subscripts and superscripts here. I don't think that many people are going to need to use that, but if for some reason you want to put like a squared or a fraction or something up above your main number, you could do that. These next two drop downs are for text. You can click here for the font and click here for the size. You'll notice it says inherited font and inherited size. That's because it's automatically styling these on the site. So you really don't have to change any of these. You can change it automatically by just following the style sheet for the site. But if you ever need to make something bigger, but you want it to look pretty much the same in all other ways, you can do that here. There's also a spot to make your text just about any color you can think of, and highlighting your text with just about any other color you could think of. Right here, that's the A with the underline and the droplet with the color underneath it here. And then you can add, you can print this if you need to. That's just for people that might like to edit offline somewhere, or think about what they want to put on the page. They could print this if they want to. So that's how to kind of work with a content block. Oh, one more thing I wanted to show you is the preset content that you can add from up here at this top left drop down. So let's come down here in our content block, and we have paragraph, which is what we're set to currently. And then let's say header 1, header 2, header 3, header 4, header 5. Correct some spelling as I go here. And lastly, header 6. So what you can do with all of these is you can select the text and you click this drop down, and you'll notice we've got headings 1 through 6 here. And so these are going to automatically add style to your live website. So don't worry if it doesn't look any different within the block here. It's going to look different when you publish this. So let me do heading 4, heading 5, and lastly heading 6 here. So when I save this, you'll see the differences. So we have normal paragraph here, and then we're using header 1, which is obviously the largest and the boldest, and we go all the way down to header 6, which is still larger and bolder than paragraph, but obviously it's the smallest of all the different headings you can choose. So that's a nice way to kind of break that up a little bit, and kind of make things stand out on your site, and add nice titles, that kind of thing. So I can select it all and delete here. So that's a little bit about just editing a page that already exists. You can also always add things. So if you wanted to add, let's say, a new image, you could drag and drop the image widget from over at the right here. So I just clicked on that, dragged, and dropped it here. When I click on select image, I can add anything I want. So for my sake, let's just do a headline photo. And then we'll choose this implement here. So I've added that in here on the page, nice and big. I can always get rid of it too by clicking more and then delete. And I've made those edits to that page. Then once you're done, you can either save as a draft if you need to come back and edit a few things here, or you can just publish, and that's going to put it live on your website. So when you publish, that's going to make all of the changes you just made on the page live. So that's a little bit about editing existing pages, but let me create a page and show you everything else that you could do with your page here in the back end. So we've got this green Create a Page button. I'm going to click that. We can name our page, so let's say My New Website Page. You can name this anything you want. Notice it automatically creates a URL for you. So this is going to be demo.kubotadigital.com/mynewwebsite page here. If you don't want it to say that, if you want it to be simpler, you can click change and you can edit that if you want. It asks to put this page either at the top level, and that's going to be on the very top level of your navigation. Let me go to the demo site and I'll show you what I mean. So you have these top level navigation links up here. Let me let it load up. Like equipment, service, parts. These are top level navigation, and you have these sub navigation items whenever you hover over equipment, over service, over parts like that. So I'm going to put this under a parent page, and let's say I want this to be under the About section. So all I have to do is select About right here and click Done, and it's automatically going to put this page underneath the About section of my site whenever I publish this on the page. And then I want this page to show up in navigation, so that box remains checked. If I didn't want it to show up in the navigation, meaning that people could not get to it from the top navigation on my site, I can uncheck that. The reason to use something like that might be that you have a campaign landing page. If you're running digital media to your site, then maybe you only want traffic coming from your media campaigns to that landing page. So you could deselect this show in navigation checkbox here, and it then just use this page as a landing page for a media campaign as opposed to just having it where anyone can access it when they visit your website. There's a couple of other items here. I don't think you'll have to use them very often, but you can set up a page as only a group, which means it has no content on it whatsoever. It just lives to group content on a page. So let me show you an example of that. So we have this equipment page up here at the top, or I should say equipment top level navigation. There is no such thing as just an equipment page on the site. It just groups together all of these other pages that are below it here. So that's what a group page is. Like I said, don't have to use that very often, but if you just need something to kind of keep your place on all these other pages, then a group page might be the right answer. You can also set the page to redirect to another page, and that can be another page within your website. And you'll see here there's a list of every single page that you could select to redirect. Or it could be a web address, which would be to an external website. For instance, if you don't have the ability to process your financing on your own at your website, you could set this to a financing page to redirect to Kubota Credit Corporation's finance application to make it a little easier for your visitors to get there and get that filled out so they can get back to you. So that's a little bit about redirecting. And then you've got titles for search engines here. And so if you're familiar with SEO, in SEO they want page titles, metadata, things like that. And so you can set it to My New Website Page like it says here, or you can add a pipe and put your dealer name here. This is my little fake dealership I made up. You'll notice it says that less than 70 characters are recommended. And as you type here, you'll see that it has a little counter in the bottom right corner so you can kind of keep track of how many characters that you are adding to this page title. And your page title is what's going to show up in Google or Bing whenever someone searches for a page. It's going to tell them what's on this page. So you can set that for your SEO. For template, you are pretty much going to use the exact same template every time. So I clicked on select another template, and I'm going to scroll up to the very top, and full width is the template you want to use pretty much every time. We have a lot of others to choose from that we use when we build your website, but full width is going to be a normal looking web page. It's going to automatically add your header and your footer and your page title up there for you. So we're going to select that, click done. And then you'll notice there's description keywords here if you want to add a meta description to your web page, which is also good for SEO. You can do that here. This is also how you can edit this on all of your existing pages. You get the description here and the title for search engines here. You'll notice this also says less than 150 characters. And as I type out here, you'll notice it's got a counter just like the title, so you can keep track of how many characters you're using. Also remember that spaces count as characters, so as you space, it's going to add to that character count as well, because Google still reads that as a space. And then that's it. So we can click the green Create and Go to Add Content button here at the bottom, and it's going to take us to our page to edit. So just like I mentioned before, when you click full width, it's automatically added the header, the footer, and then your page title and your breadcrumbs over here on the top right. So all of that's been added for you. And you'll notice we've got this container here, and it tells you to drag widgets. So you've got all of these widgets over here on the right side, and you can add any of them to your page. And you'll notice there's a lot. So I'm going to go over the most used ones today, because I don't think that you'll use all of them. But there's well over 100 widgets over here on the right-hand side. So the first thing I want to pull over is the content block. And we talked about this on editing a page. Think of the content block as sort of the Swiss Army knife for adding and editing content on your page, because you can add from this content block images, you can add text, you can change the size of the text to make headers, you can add video and PDFs. You can do all of these different things from this one content block right here. So we can just say my heading, and then we can center that and make it heading 4 so that's a little bit bolder. Now I'm going to add a space below it. And so I've just done this on my content block. I showed you how to edit images and edit content earlier, so I think you kind of get how the content block works, but that's the go-to whenever you're going to add something to a page. The next thing you can add to the page, scrolling down here, is a form. So if you want to add a form to a site like request a quote or request trade value, or add a form that you've created yourself for the site, then you can do so just by dragging, dropping, and then you click select a form, and you're going to see the list of every single form that's available to you that you've built in the back end. So these are all of the different forms we have on the site. I'm going to add a get a quote one here. And click save, and that's automatically going to add my get a quote form to my site. I personally like the look of centering the form a little bit, because forms are very fluid in that they will fill any space that you give them. So if you come over here to the top right corner, there's a word that says layout, and when you click that, it turns everything pink. And then you've got all these different grids that you can add to your page, and this is going to add columns to the page for you. So I'm going to drag and drop this one that says 3 + 6 + 3. It's kind of a large middle column with 2 smaller ones on the outside. I'm dragging, dropping that over, and then I'm going to click content up here at the top right, and that's going to take me back to where I can edit content. I've got my form here, so I can drag and drop my form up to column 2 now, and you'll notice it's a lot skinnier on the page, because like I said, those forms are going to be fluid to whatever container you put them in, and so I want it to be a little bit narrower. Another thing to think about, or better yet, that you don't have to think about, is how these pages are going to look on mobile. Because there's not a mobile designer view that you're going to see on here, because it's automatically going to move all of this content to mobile for you. There's no need to create multiple pages depending on the device. With that said, just a design tip for everyone, I would highly recommend against adding images that have text stuck on them. And what I mean by that is it's fine to have an image and then overlay text so that they both move independently of one another. But if you add an image that has a bunch of text on it, think like a billboard where all the text is kind of built into the image, it's going to look really small on a mobile device because it's going to resize the image whenever it shrinks down the screen. And then that's going to make a really small, hard to read piece of text on that image. So it's always nice to separate images from text when you can do that, because it's going to look a lot better and it's going to be a lot more mobile friendly for you. So let's say contact us for a quote. I'm going to add a little text here. I'm going to highlight this and make it heading 6. And I'm just going to put like 1, I'm going to hit enter once, just put a little space there. And save, and now I've got a little area above my form telling people what it's for. So I've got that. Another thing that you can add if you use this on your site is a list, and I'm just going to click and drag and drop it here. I'll drop it within the container. And if you already have a list set up on your site, when you click this to set which list to display, you'll see that list here in the back end when you click select. And I'm just going to I have this one called clearance items. I'm going to check to add that. I don't know if there's even anything in here. And then you've got a couple of other things you can do here. You can set them manually or set them by last published or in alphabetical order. I'm just going to do last published. And you've got a bunch of different list templates. So this is going to display as a simple list. When I click save, it's going to add my clearance list here, which I'm not sure if I have any content on it. But yep, just have one piece. I have this 3050 on here. So this is kind of what a list looks like in the simple view. If I click edit and I change this to something like expandable, I can click save. And it takes just a second, but it's going to reformat itself, and this is now expandable. So if I go to the preview on the page, by just clicking preview up at the top, when I scroll down to this list and I click this item, it will expand to show everything that was within that list item. So this just says special closeout price, $9,000. But if I had images or video in that list item, then all of that would be shown when I click to expand it here. And then if you have a bunch of items, of course I only have one, you can click expand all over here on the right, and it's automatically going to expand everything for the users when they click that. So that's just a nice little thing that you can add if you use lists on your site. Some things to use lists for would be clearance items like this. If you're not using your used equipment sync or manual used equipment, you just want to add a couple of random things, you can do that here. You can create job postings this way. Some people use this to keep track of their rental equipment, and like I said, you can add photos and video, so you can have a really nice detailed rental equipment listing using a list. And then the nice thing about it is you just update the list in the back end. Once you drop this on a page, it will automatically update when you update that list on the back end. So that's kind of how lists work. You can also get rid of it by clicking more and then delete, like you can do with all of this. I want to talk about cards next, and let me delete this form and I'll show you. I'll tell you what, I'll just drag it up above the heading. So we've got this thing that's called cards, or card, over here on the right hand side. And this can be a lot of different things. This is basically like a styled content area for your site. So as you can see here, you can put a heading, you can put subtext here, you can select an image. So I'm just going to select one that's from my headline libraries over here on the right, sort of my go-to. So let me click that, and I'll just add this excavator. Got an image in here, and then if you wanted there to be a button with a label, and it gives you an example like learn more, then you can have this go to a page within the site. I'll choose the Kubota showroom just as an example. So click that, done. And then for more options, you've got all these different templates. So you've got the normal card, and I'll just leave that selected now. And it's going to kind of look like, let's see what pops up here. Sometimes it takes a second on the edit screen, so I usually just click preview and then take a look here. So this is my card. I've got this big image. It's got my title. It says we're open 25/8 and my subtext, and I've got a learn more button here that goes to the Kubota showroom. So that's the card template that you saw whenever we clicked on more options down here at the bottom. If I click the About one, so I'm clicking Card, About, and Save, it's going to change that to a smaller centered image. The subtext and title text looks a little bit different. And the Learn More changes from a button to this hyperlinked text here. So a little bit different style on that. And note, I haven't changed any content. I'm just changing the style. So more options. Let's look at Browse New Equipment. This makes it one really big image, and this image is clickable, and it will go to whatever link you set. So on this particular one, I set this to go to the Kubota showroom, so when someone clicks on this image, it would take them to the Kubota showroom. The Card Hero, this is going to have a really big image, and I think it's got your text over it. So I don't recommend doing this unless you have a tinted image that you want to use, or a solid image as opposed to a picture like this, because it's going to be really hard to read the text. But this is really great if you want to add like a big, orange bar or something like that in the middle of your site, like in the middle of your home page, and you just want it to have some title text like you see here, and maybe a Learn More button. Then you could do that with this hero version of the card. And then lastly, we can change this to the simple version, and this is just going to be text with the image next to it. So this changes it where. Let me click on preview. Oh, there it goes. So yeah, you've got the image to the left and then all of your text and your button over here on the right-hand side. So this is the exact same widget. It's called a card. And we've looked at 5 different ways to make that look different. So there are lots of different ways to use this one widget to add all kinds of different looking content to your site. So that's cards. Now, the last thing I want to show you on this page is how to embed a video. And so if you scroll down through content, you'll see there's lots more things. But I want to add a video from YouTube. So I'm going to click on Scripts and Styles. And this brings up 3 different widgets. I'm going to drag and drop the embed code over here above my form. So I've got embed code right here. I can even drag it and drop it over into one of these columns. And I'm going to click on embed code. And it's going to open up this edit screen. All you have to do on this edit screen is go to a video. I've pulled up this one of the Kubota Sidekick. And you've seen this. This is YouTube. You've seen this before. Click on Share. And instead of copying this link, we want to click on Embed. And that's going to give us all of the text we need to embed this video. So I'm just going to copy that, go back to my edit screen and paste it. And then one change to make that will make videos look a lot better on your site is changing the iframe width from 560 to 100%. And so what you're doing is at 560, it's giving you an absolute value. So whatever device that people are looking at your site with, it's going to show this video at 560 pixels wide. By changing this to 100%, it does not matter what size device they look at, it's going to automatically fit this video into the frame for them, and they're going to be able to see the entire thing. I do not know why YouTube automatically sets to 560 every time when 100% is so much better, but we like to do that on everyone's site just to make sure that every video is watchable and looks good. So change that to 100% and click Save. It looks like a bunch of junk whenever you add it to an edit screen, but it will come out looking like, if you go to preview, it will come out looking like a true video like it's supposed to from YouTube here. So I've got this in kind of a narrow setting here. It's got my YouTube, so it's a little bit squashed. But if I move it around, so let's say I move this above my contact quote text here, and then click preview, it's going to look nicer and wide. It's going to fill in all this space right here for you. So that's how to add YouTube pages. You can always swap out your YouTube pages that are already on your site, or sorry, YouTube videos that are already on your site that we added for you when we built it. Those are all editable so that you can go in and add any videos that you want. Just remember to change the width to 100% because that's going to make it look good on any device. And then once I've done with my page and I've edited everything and I've got it ready to go here, I can click Preview to look at it, which is what we've been doing. If I'm not ready to publish it just yet, I can click Save as Draft, and that's going to save everything, but it's not going to be visible to anyone on the front end of the website. But when I click publish, it's going to add this page as I have it to the site. So publish means live. It's live on the site. You can always unpublish a page if you published it by accident. So if I got it published here, and you'll see it's, I think it's under my About section. Yep, my new website page. I can click this little box next to it, and then come back up to the More Actions and unpublish my page. And that will take it down if I'm not ready for people to see it. So not a big deal there, just in case if you publish something a little early and need to make some changes, you can unpublish it. You haven't deleted anything. You're just going to kind of save all that for later. Another thing that you can do from Pages is I clicked More Actions here, and I've got Publish on specific date. Those of you that have joined Cultivate before will know that you can do this with your dealer specials and items like that, where you can have them publish on a specific date and time, and then you can even have them unpublish and take them off your live site at a different time as well. So this is really fantastic if you've got a digital media campaign and you've built a landing page. You can have this publish, a few hours before your digital campaign goes live, and you can have it unpublish off the site once that campaign is done. So really nice way to kind of handle your content there as well. So I'm going to go back to Pages, and I want to show you one more thing before I let you go today. And that is that you can reorder these pages however you want. These pages can be reordered to best fit your site. So moving the home page around is not going to do anything because the home page is not in the navigation. You always click a logo up here to go back to the home page, but we can move these around. So let's say I want About to be the very first thing in this navigation list. I can come here, and there are these like 8 dots over here to the left of About. If I click and drag those up to the top, then see how it's above equipment in this list? When I come back to my home page, let me refresh it real quick, it's going to have moved this About section all the way to the front of the list over here on the left. So now About is before equipment. You can do that with pretty much any page on your site. You can move this to any order. So if you think that this is too many top-level navigation items, you can move these underneath each other or unpublish them. You have the freedom to do that. And with that said, I want to remind you one more time that if you have any questions, to visit Kubota Digital Help Docs right here. That's kubotadigital.helpdocs.com. This is going to include tutorials on everything that we do here, including pages. So if we type in pages in the search, you'll notice there's a create a page right here, and it's going to take us to a walkthrough of how to create your own pages. If that is not all of the help that you needed, if you had a couple of other questions, you can always contact the Kubota Digital support staff at 501-553-9500 or email us at kubotahelp@tractru.com, and we will get back to you and we can share a screen with you and help you get through anything that you need. Thanks everybody so much. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.